Hello everybody, Justin Puntarelli here, and today I just wanted to make a quick, okay, yeah, that's right, quick, because what do I consider quick, right? As quick as possible. A quick video for someone I love very much, um, who I believe was just a little mistaken about what I was trying to say today. um, so what's the topic? The term educated guess. What does it mean? Basically, where does it come from? And what type of people make educated guesses? Okay. So first, I wanted to show you guys a clip from the original Star Trek. It's going to involve Spock, who has essentially been ordered to bring the ship back home to their own timeline because they've done a little time travel, okay? And they've got to get back home now with some whales in a giant tank. If you've ever watched this movie, it's called Star Trek The Voyage Home, so you might be familiar with the scene, but maybe not. So, quick little background on Spock's character. He's a Vulcan. They're typically very logical, scientifically minded, which means they use their brain a lot, you know? They're very smart, basically. And they pride themselves in basically being emotionless. Which means the man's not fun he's not fun at a party, but hey, if you need some stuff, done, he's your man. So let's watch it. And because I can show this as long as I provide commentary without getting in trouble, I'll provide commentary after we watch it. So let's roll the tape.
You present the appearance of a man with a problem.
Your perception is correct, Doctor. In order to return us to the exact moment we left the 23rd century, I have used our journey back through time as a referent, calculating the coefficient of elapsed time in relation to the acceleration curve.
Naturally. So what's your problem?
Acceleration is no longer a constant.
Well, then you're just going to have to take your best shot.
Best shot?
Yes, Spock. Your best guess.
Guessing is not in my nature, Doctor.
Well, nobody's perfect.
You hear that? Nobody's perfect. The interesting thing is Spock makes a guess and it's spot on. He gets the ship back home safely to the proper time and location with the whales alive and intact. Because the entire premise of this movie is we need whales to do something, but there's no whales in the future because they're all extinct. Or at least this species is extinct, okay? Anyway, right? So they go, they get the whales, but now they got a problem. We need to go back home. Spock's like, look, I have a little problem here. I have all this information, but I don't have quite enough information to guarantee the success of our mission. And Bones, the doctor here, says, well, guess. Make your best guess. In this case, an educated guess. Because Spock has expertise. He's got knowledge. He's got experience. He's got information accessible to him. Okay, so keep those things in mind as we continue our video. So next we have, of course, you got to go to the dictionary, right? Everyone likes to, back in high school, right? We define this, term or this word, according to the dictionary. Yeah, and we're going to do that classic, go to the dictionary, define the term. Not just any dictionary, but look right there in the corner. Cambridge Dictionary. Okay, so apparently Cambridge, or at least their dictionary, defines an educated guess as a guess. Don't look at me, look down below. A guess that is made using judgment and a particular level of knowledge and is therefore more likely to be correct. And we're going to, give examples of a guess versus an educated guess, okay? There we go. Once again, see that? Educated guess. We're just going to dive into this is vocabulary.com. Again, basically offering an almost identical definition, okay? And it says, if you don't know the answer to a question, but you are fairly knowledgeable about the subject, you can make an educated guess. This speculation, based on good information and clear reasoning, is often correct. Look at that. We are dealing with a speculation, yes, however, it is based on good information and clear reasoning. That sounds like something a reasonable, intelligent, educated person would be able to do to make an educated guess. And they go on below to give like an example when used in a sentence. Because it's a vocabulary website, okay? An educated guess is just what it sounds like. A guess that's not random. As opposed to an example I will show you guys in a few moments. But based on previous education or knowledge of a topic. If you know a lot about different dog breeds, you may be able to make an educated guess about your friend's rescue pup. My educated guess is that he's got some Akita in him because of his black tongue and that curly tail. Okay. Now, so guys, here we are. We're going to do an example. Okay, we're going to do a guess. Now, this is different than an educated guess. Okay? We're going to guess. So I'm going to roll the die, and I'm going to guess what number it's going to come up. I'm going to guess a 1. Oh, I was wrong. It's a 5. What do you know? Now, however, I can tell you the odds of rolling a 1. It's a 1 out of 6. 1 out of 6. And that's the same for any number on the die if you know probability. But that's only a guess. I can guess any time, any number I want, 1 out of 6. And it's going to give me the same chance every single time. So the odds of guessing correctly are relatively low in comparison to an educated guess. One more time. How about give me a 4? Nah, it's a 6. I'm wrong again. What do you know? Too bad. Setting that aside, guys. Now here we have an old stack of US Air playing cards. Okay, ancient. I know, right? I don't even know if US Air still exists as a company. But, let's try to find the Queen of Hearts. Let's guess. I don't know, it's this one. And guys, that's the nature of guessing. Sometimes you're wrong, and sometimes you're right. Okay, in this instance, someone would have had a 1 out of 3 chance of finding the correct card. Here, this time it was in the middle. Okay. Now, who makes educated guesses? Scientists. Apparently, all the time. Okay. Using the scientific method. Now, let's check it out according to Wikipedia. Of course, you can always get like a larger article to check out, but I wanted something concise and less time consuming. So let's check this out real quick. What's the scientific method in a nutshell? Let's get to the part where it mentions I have a hypothesis. Okay, here we go. The scientific method is an empirical, meaning based on data, okay, based on observation and data, method for acquiring knowledge that has characterized the development of science since at least the 17th century. Okay. And here we have a little flow chart, okay, a little circular flow chart. Basically, you start with an observation and or a question. Maybe do some research and research the topic, right? Then you're going to formulate a hypothesis. You're going to perform tests by experimentation. You're then going to analyze the data. And you will then report your conclusion, the idea, to be to either prove your hypothesis correct or, unfortunately, sometimes incorrect. Okay? So essentially, the scientific method involves careful observation coupled with rigorous skepticism. Yes, in order to be scientific about things, you must have an iota of skepticism. Okay? Because cognitive assumptions can distort the interpretation of the observation. Scientific inquiry includes creating a hypothesis, okay, through inductive reasoning, testing it through experiments and statistical analysis, and adjusting or discarding the hypothesis based on the results. Now here we are with the website, okay, talking about the scientific method. In particular, we're interested in what a hypothesis is, okay? So we're going to skip down a little ways to this paragraph right here. Let me just highlight it for you guys, just in case you need a little help seeing it, because I know I might, if it was me. Here we go. So an investigation often begins with the scientist making an observation. Okay, so you look at the natural world and go, oh, look at such and such happening. The scientist observes a pattern or trend within the natural world. Observations may generate questions that the scientist wishes to answer. Next, the scientist may perform some research about the topic and devise a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a testable statement that describes how something in the natural world works. In essence, a hypothesis is an educated guess that explains something about an observation. So, did you see that, guys? In essence, a hypothesis, again, hypothesis is something that's created within the scientific method. A hypothesis is an educated guess. Okay. Hold on. We got some more, though. So this is interesting. So I guess this website deals more with what a scientific inference is, but it also deals with a hypothesis. So it says, a hypothesis is an educated guess about what will happen in a situation. It is based on what you see, hear, feel, smell, or taste. In other words, they're describing your five senses, okay? And your five senses basically give you data to analyze. It does, they go on to say, it does sound a lot like an inference, but there is a slight difference. An inference is a conclusion based on what you observe. A hypothesis is a prediction about something that hasn't happened yet. Okay? But as we already know, a hypothesis is used, okay, in the scientific method, and that's going to require data. Okay? All right. So this website looks like it's dealing with education. Okay. Topic here is educated guess in science. Okay. An educated guess in science. Let me go ahead and highlight this again, okay? Because you know what? Never mind this time. We're gonna pass on that. Okay. An educated guess in science, commonly referred to as a hypothesis. Okay, so once again, we are able to use the terms hypothesis and educated guess interchangeably, is a prediction or statement that can be tested through experiments and observations. It is based on careful observations, thorough research, and existing knowledge about the subject. By formulating hypotheses, scientists aim to explore and understand the natural world around us. And guys, this is where we're going to get into our first example, our primary and only example of what type of scientists might use or might create hypotheses or educated guesses. Okay. So what is our first example of a scientist who might form a hypothesis or make educated guesses? And that would be a meteorologist. A meteorologist is a scientist who studies and works in the field of meteorology, aiming to understand or predict Earth's atmospheric phenomena, including the weather. Those who study meteorological phenomena are meteorologists in research, while those using mathematical models and knowledge to prepare daily weather forecasts are called weather forecasters or operational meteorologists. So guys, Wikipedia sums it up, I think, very well for us, and refers directly to meteorologists as scientists. Okay? And they aim to understand or predict Earth's atmospheric phenomena, including the weather. So basically, they're scientists who aim to predict the weather. Okay? So keep that in mind. Here we go. So before going on, let's summarize. We already know that a guess is different than an educated guess. Okay? We know that a guess, you have to have knowledge about a subject. You have to have studied the subject. You have to have data to analyze. Okay? So basically, an educated guess is also used in the scientific method. It is often referred to as a hypothesis. Okay. And compared to just a guess. Given my example with the die, where I rolled the die and said, oh, I think it's going to be, a 3 and it lands a 5, right? For example. Or, can you guess which card is the queen and you pick the wrong card because there's a whole stack of cards to pick through, right? That's a guess. That's random. An educated guess is not random. And now we know for a fact that meteorologists are scientists that aim to predict the weather. Now, so let's go further. Students ask, how do meteorologists predict the weather? Okay. Note the word predict. Okay. So basically this is a question apparently being asked by students in 6th grade science class. And we're going to get to the answer. Okay. So they say, Dear so-and-so, thank you for your questions. Your inquiries are very similar, so I'll be able to answer the 3 of you simultaneously. Meteorologists are able to predict the changes in weather patterns by using several different tools. They use these tools to measure atmospheric conditions that occurred in the past and present, and they apply this information to create educated guesses about the future weather. Always remember that a weather forecast is an educated guess. Meteorologists, and mankind in general, cannot control the weather. The best we can do is observe past and present atmospheric patterns and data and apply this information to what we think will happen in the future. Meteorologists, note this guys, use the scientific method on a daily and even hourly basis. So, if you were, for example, to say to someone that, the weatherman is making an educated guess, you are essentially saying he is using the scientific method and applying his knowledge, his research. Okay, he's using tools and data at his disposal. Okay, to make a prediction. And that, guys, is very, very cool. All right, very cool. All right, that's a very awesome thing. What these men do is not easy, and it takes a scientific background, a thorough scientific background. Okay. So there you are. Always remember that a weather forecast is an educated guess. Okay? But these men, women, meteorologists, they are using the scientific method. So again, to kind of go full circle and to recap, what is the scientific method? Again, according to Wikipedia, it is an empirical method for acquiring knowledge that has characterized the development of science since at least the 17th century. Okay? And it involves careful observation coupled with rigorous skepticism, because cognitive assumptions can distort the interpretation of the observation. A scientific inquiry includes creating a hypothesis, which, as we know, is basically the same as an educated guess, through inductive reasoning, testing it through experiments and statistical analysis, and adjusting or discarding the hypothesis based on the results. Okay? And it goes on to say, although procedures vary from one field of inquiry to another, the underlying process is frequently the same. Okay? The process in the scientific method involves making conjectures, hypothetical explanations, so on and so forth. Okay? So, going on to say, a hypothesis is a conjecture based on knowledge obtained while seeking answers to the question. So going back to our example with meteorologists, one might ask a question, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? They will make a hypothesis, an educated guess, okay, based on knowledge, empirical observations, data, okay? So there you go. A little back to the diagram. You have an observation coupled perhaps with a question. You got to do some research on the topic. Formulate your educated guess. Test using experimentation. Okay. Analyze data. Okay, which meteorologists do all the time. And then report your conclusions, which is also what happens with meteorologists. They say, hey, check this out. Here's the weather pattern on the screen. And let's see what happens, right? And at the end of the day, they might come back and say, yep, had rain, right? So, but like they said before on another page I had read to you guys, you don't always get every single one of these steps when applying the scientific method, okay? But generally speaking, it's here, right? So there you go. So yeah, there you go. Educated guess. Definitely not an insult. And going back to the example with Spock, I'm not sure if it's the same movie or if it's one of the TV episodes where basically the Doctor tries to explain to Spock that they trust his guesses more than some people's so-called facts. Okay, so when they say, hey, Spock, take a guess, it's because they trust him and they respect him. Okay?
Mr. Sulu, you have the car. I'm going to take our guest down and have a look at her whales. Well, Mr. Spock, have you accounted for the variable mass of whales in water in your time re-entry program?
Mr. Scott cannot give me exact figures, Admiral, so I will make a guess.
A guess? You, Spock? That's extraordinary.
I don't think he understands.
No, Spock. He means that he feels safer about your guesses than most other people's facts.
Then you're saying it is a compliment?
It is.
Ah. Then I will try to make the best guess I can.
Just like we can trust meteorologists and respect them for the work they do. And although, because it is an educated guess, they're not always going to be 100% correct all the time. However, like we learned in Cambridge, the Cambridge Dictionary, educated guess is a guess that is made using judgment and a particular level of knowledge and is therefore more likely to be correct. So maybe not all the time you're going to be right, but who knows, right? 99% of the time, boom, spot on, right? That's how it works. That's what an educated guess is. All right, guys. I think that should about do it. Hope you learned something. See ya. Take care. Well, everybody, thanks for watching. Do hope you enjoyed. And if you didn't, go ahead and leave a big old fat thumbs down there. And please tell me why in the comments. And I will be happy to try to make a better video for you guys in the future. And as always, you know what to do. Please go ahead and leave any questions, comments, or polite constructive criticism down below. Thanks for watching.